Friday, 6 March 1959. Dear Mom and Pop, today I have been cleaning up the chaos that is my room and shall do some studying shortly. I have a great deal to do, especially in French 4 and 8. Exams are over now and I am recovering from their impact. History was fairly difficult, English relatively simple. Steve's last letter omitted mention of the footlocker, which I trust will arrive soon. I intend writing him today. He still owes money to people here. I also must mail him some odds and ends he forgot in his haste. I got an A on an English theme by following the teacher's explicit advice. My writing is overly formal in tone, the style she finds stilted. I produced dull, unreadable sentences of equal length short and made my vocabulary deliberately more commonplace. She loves banality. I shall repeat the formula hereafter. She takes no interest in the art of writing and cares nothing for the literary magazine. It is curious that the sponsor, and occasionally the only faculty contributor of both newspaper and literary organ, is the history teacher. He, Mr. Poland, is fairly candid and admitted to me that the faculty is less united than the student body. This is amusing, since you know my opinion of the latter. This morning people on the second floor drenched our windows, and occasionally us with water as we looked out our window. We ascended the stairs to the third floor and did the same thing to them as they leaned out below us. Our trip to Switzerland included some of Austria. We stayed in Bern the first night, which is easily the cleanest city I've come across. The next day was occupied with a tour of it, then driving through the mountains. At Lucerne, we spent a night. I prowled around with a kid from Salzburg who last Christmas received a card from Dusenberry, and we discovered the psych teacher at the tavern with his wife. The day following we toured Lucerne, which I found beautiful, spanned by 2 wooden bridges, and around the city a medieval wall secures the place against attack. The streets ramble, narrow and ancient amidst decayed buildings. The churches are without exception historic, representing Renaissance and Baroque architecture. I should like to revisit Lucerne someday. Most annoying throughout the tour was the insistence upon the 4 languages, Deutsch, Francais, Italian, and a Roman tongue, which allegedly is the closest extant equivalent of Latin. My attempts at French were pretty much thwarted by the natives' predilection for English at all times. We ate our Sunday lunch in Zurich, the town I liked least since it was large and partly industrialized. But our lunch, the Swiss are noted for a dish called a fondue, which consists of a boiling pot, flames and all, set before you, of bubbling cheese cooked with wine. A plate of bread squares are supplied, forming an ample serving for 2. I thought we really ought to please the 2 Swiss opposite us, who were amused by our American aspect, and pour the cheese over the bread or something, but we ate it according to convention. The bread one spears and dips into the cheese wine mess and eats one at a time. An awfully enjoyable trip, well worth the money. I almost got a hand-painted mug too. I did get beaucoup de beer coasters, including one curiously advertising Barbara Brau, which I presented to Bode. I am enjoying Liza very much. I like the naturalistic treatment of sordid material. I find also a parallel between Maggie, A Girl of the Streets by Stephen Crane. Written in the same decade and acknowledged to be the forerunner of all American realistic novels of the Hemingway, Nelson, Algren school, it details the life of a similar gal on the Bowery of the 1890s. I am rereading The Summing Up, probably one of the best and most readable modern autobiographical books of essays. It's a model of candid personal reflections. A week ago we spent an hour in preparing a corpse out of dirty clothes stuffed with soiled underwear. We made sure every bogus wrinkle was true to life. The floor was splashed with ketchup, and a sinister broken whiskey bottle lay nearby. The head part was shoved under the bed, since we hadn't made one. It was quite realistic. One kid tried to revive it. A visitor walking through the dorm, our door was of course open, commented on it. We told him the police were coming. Time to bathe for dinner and find a sweater to wear over my dirty shirt. Love, Steve. So he's almost 19 when he writes that.